We're gonna record. There we go. Ready to go. All right, so we'll get our big happy posters up here. And all right, so let me share my screen real fast. And we'll make it all official like. So here we are. First of all, thanks so much for everyone for showing up tonight. This is Spider Graham, not Hollis Thomas, as it says underneath my picture there. Hollis is much cuter than I am, and she can have her name back next week when she shows up. Anyway, I'm happy to step into Hollis's rather sizable shoes this week to spend some time talking with Melinda Emerson, and we're going to talk about Quintessence Multimedia. And we're going to talk about her role as small biz lady and what that means. I think we can probably make this go away now and jump into the good stuff. And there's Melinda. So first of all, Melinda, I'd like to welcome you to tonight's broadcast. Thank you so much. I realized you've had one of those days where you seem to be on the go and on the go and on the go. So take a moment, say hi, and tell us a little bit about Quintessence Media and how you got here.
Sure. I'm so excited to be here with you all tonight. This is my favorite day of the week, but also my longest day of the week. I am the small biz lady. My mission is to end small business failure. I am America's #1 small business expert. I reach over 3 million entrepreneurs a week online with my content and information. I have a huge blog called succeedasyourownboss.com that is syndicated through the Huffington Post. I'm also the former social media columnist for the New York Times, and I'm the author of a best-selling book called Become Your Own Boss in 12 Months. I've developed a step-by-step guide to help people transition from being an employee to being an entrepreneur. I don't know if you can tell, but I love entrepreneurs. I love helping entrepreneurs. I want you to live your dream with a plan. That's what I want you to do. So, you know, that's me in a nutshell. I've been an entrepreneur for 16 years. I've been through the fire, the wind, and the rain, but I'm still here. I'm still standing, and I'm still strong. And matter of fact, better than ever. I actually think I look better than I did 20 years ago, too. So, you know, it's been an incredible journey, but, you know, nothing, you cannot have a testimony if you have not had a test. So I will tell you that, you know, I live my dream every day. And I love doing that.
I love the idea you can't have a testimony until you've had tests. And, you know, let's talk a little bit about that, because I think one of the most interesting aspects of and by the way, I've been self-employed for roughly the better part of 20 years. And I'm not sure if it's just I'm unemployable, which is sometimes I wonder if maybe that's why I'm still doing this, or I like torturing myself, or I really don't know when my next paycheck is coming in, or whatever it is. But there are challenges. I mean, and I think there are a lot of illusions people have about self-employment, that somehow it's a magic. If I work for myself, everything is easier and better and more fun. And I already see the shaking of the head. So, I mean, how did you get started in this? Because you were corporate at one point in your career as well.
Yeah, well, I started out actually as a television producer. I got my dream job when I was 23 years old. And, you know, it's a funny thing about getting your dream job. You know, for me, you know, I always wanted to work in market, you know, top 5 market television as a producer. And it just so happened that my second job in the business was in market 4 in Philadelphia. I worked for the ABC and NBC stations here as a producer. But guess what? My dream job became a nightmare. And I bet there's a lot of people watching this broadcast that know what I'm talking about. You know, the woman that hired me left and went to network, and it was like, oh, holy macaroni, what am I into now? And fortunately for me, when I was in college, a student at Virginia Tech, I had the idea that one day I wanted to start my own company. In fact, I was inspired by the first journalist that I ever saw start a business, because I was a journalism major. And her name, you may have heard of her. Her name is Oprah Winfrey, right? So
you might have heard of her.
She was the first journalist I ever saw start a business. And literally, when she started Harpo Studios, I was a sophomore in college, like when she really, you know, came to prominence with it and started producing her own original movies and stuff. And I was like, wait a minute, you know what? There's something to this idea of owning one's own creative product and then cutting your own distribution deal for it. And for me, that's what started me on the entrepreneurship train. But I also knew that there was a whole bunch of stuff I didn't know. So I was like, well, you know what? Let me go work for somebody for some time, save up some money, learn everybody's job in the building. And then when the time comes, peace out. You know what I mean? And that's exactly what happened in the winter of 1999. I basically had a laptop, a fax machine, and a dream. And I came home one day after giving Channel 6 their job back and literally started my production company in the basement of my house. And I was very fortunate because at the time my brother had just graduated from college and he needed a place to stay, so he became my tenant. He took over the back bedroom of my house and paid half my mortgage. And I took out a home equity loan before I left my job, and I paid off every bill I had. So I got myself down to literally bare bones bills. And I launched this business. In the first year, I made $38,000. The second year, I made $67,000. And then it kept getting bigger. It wasn't ever enough money to live off of, for a while. But I was very fortunate. I stayed after it. And my really big break came. The city of Philadelphia used to do a business plan competition every year. And in 2001, I actually won the business plan competition, and I won $20,000 in free office space in a business building downtown Philadelphia. And that's what really changed the game for me. I was able to hire my first employee. I started, winning contracts, long-term contracts with brands. We worked for Verizon, for Enterprise Rent-A-Car, Citizens Bank, Comcast. And by 2004, I was the number 29 fastest growing small business in Philadelphia on the Philly 100 list. And, my then husband was able to quit his full-time job at GE and join the business. We were rocking and rolling. We were doing very, very well. And then in 2005, I got pregnant with my son. And I basically went from being the worst workaholic you ever met in your whole life to being put on bed rest and not being allowed to leave my house. Yeah. And, 2005, Wi-Fi was not what it is today, right? So I basically had a Palm 3 cell phone trying to run my business in my life. Didn't work so well. And the other thing too is I realized the most incredible mistake I had made in my business at that point, which was I had set up a culture where you had to come ask mama, right, to make a decision. So when I wasn't there, my team would do anything I asked them, but nobody proactively did anything. And it was my fault because I had set up the culture that way. So, and by the way, my son was born December of that year. So I spent that whole, spring, summer, fall, winter pregnant. And then I finally had my son. I laid off on my employees because it was going to be me or them. And I decided it had been them too long. And so I reinvented my business because I actually did an evaluation while I was on bed rest at home. And I said, what is the most valuable thing in my business? Is it my equipment? Lord, no, it was depreciating as by the second. Was it my employees? Well, absolutely not, because they were useless. I had too many doers in my business. I didn't have any thinkers in my business, right? And you need other people thinking about how your business is going to make revenue when you're not there. And then I thought, well, is it my customers? Well, at that time, we were very heavily niched in the pharmaceutical and healthcare space. And we just started seeing our customers get into trouble and get laid off. And, the big Vioxx scare and with Merck. And it was just a mess. So I literally said, okay, what is the most valuable thing in this business? And I figured out that the most valuable thing in my company was what I learned from running it. And at that point, I said, you know what? I bet I can bottle and sell that. And so I started with my book, Become Your Own Boss in 12 Months, which I wrote between 2007 and 2008. I turned it into my publisher, September 1st, 2008. And literally, I was thrilled. I thought I was about to go on this national book tour. PBS was actually interested in doing a television pledge special like Susie Orman style with me. It came out. But guess what happened? About September 17th, 2008, right? The market crashed.
It did.
And people's 401ks became 101ks, you know what I'm saying? And so my publisher called me up and said, listen, thank you so much for being a first-time author that actually turned your book in on time. But we don't think anybody's thinking about entrepreneurship right now. So we're going to postpone the release of your book until March of 2010. This was 18 months after I turned my book in.
So you actually did not get published until 2010?
Until 2010, from September of 2008. And I was like, oh my Lord, what am I going to do? By this time I had kind of wound down my production company thinking I'm going on this national book tour.
Sure.
And literally I was like, what am I going to do? And a friend of mine in the National Speakers Association said, listen, you better hire a publicist and start publicizing that book like it's coming out anyway. And I was just like, are you serious? And she said, well, Bill Gates said if he had $2 left in the world, he would spend $1 on PR. And at that point, I had like, $500 left in the world. I mean, literally, like I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And so I hired this lady. The name of her company was websavvypr.com. And I called her up and I told her my whole sad story. You know, how the publisher had thrown me under the bus. They weren't going to release my book. And what am I going to do? And, and this woman literally said, great, we got 18 months. That's what she said. And I thought I was talking to somebody crazy on the other end of the phone, right? And she said, no. This is going to be a good thing for you. And by the way, I hate when people tell me that. It's like, eat your vitamins. They're going to be a good thing for you. No, do not tell me that. So anyway, so literally this lady said, look, I know exactly what we're going to do. We're going to go out on Twitter and build your brand. And I literally said to this lady, what is Twitter? What are you talking about? I mean, I literally, I was like, again, this is 2008. Twitter was 2.5 years old, right? People were not follow me, friend me. That was not what the culture was at the time at all. And so I was like, oh God, okay, well, you know what? I'm desperate. So I'm willing to even try this. So finally the day came for me to go on Twitter and sign up for my own account. And so I go in front of the computer, I'm on the phone, she's in front of her computer, she's on the phone, and I go to twitter.com and I put in Melinda Emerson. And I get a notice back, this name is already taken. And I'm like, are you kidding? First of all, I probably met 6 other adult Melindas in my life. I've most certainly not met any other Melinda Emersons, right? And the fact that one of those trolls got to Twitter before me was just beyond, right? So literally on the spot, my publicist, Kathy, said, look, we got to come up with a nickname for you. And I said, you mean like Mindy or Melly Mel or something? And she said, no, we need to come up with a nickname for you that tells people who you are and what you do.
So it's serendipity in a lot of ways. And what I love about your story is, and I think we all have these, there are times when reality knocks you on your butt and you're sitting there feeling a little bit dazed, and then something occurs to you that maybe it's not the worst thing that ever happened to you. In retrospect, we find that that's really what makes us innovative. Now, I want to get back to the publication of the book for a moment, because I published 4 books in my tenure, so I know the pain you've gone through, and I don't want to necessarily broad brush this, but publishers are not the easiest group of people to work with. And as exciting as writing a book is, and as exciting as having a publisher is, it's kind of indentured servitude at a certain point. They're making the money, you're doing the work. So unless they're going to step up and really do something to promote the book, it's really up to you. And you're going to have to kind of just take it away from them and say, I promote it, you sell it, we'll just agree to that. But it seems to me, so we come into 2009, which everything tanked. Most people at that point, and me included at that point, you end up finding yourself sitting at home with a lot more free time than you wanted, thinking, okay, I need to figure out how to fill my pipeline. So you're doing the same thing. You've just spent a lot of time and energy writing a book. You're not making a lot of money while you're writing the book generally, because it takes the time to do it. And now you're finding yourself with a market slowdown and thinking, okay, what am I going to do to survive to get past this? Now, my question to you, Melinda, would 2009 have been the perfect time to publish a book on entrepreneurship and starting your own business?
Oh yeah. And that was the argument that I tried to make to my publisher. And they were like, no. We know the publishing market better than you. We don't think anyone's thinking about entrepreneurship right now with all these people losing their jobs. We don't think anybody's thinking about entrepreneurship right now. And I was like, really?
Right.
And so it was just like, I mean, honestly, you couldn't be more right about talking about publishers. I mean, and really the idea that what you have to understand is your publisher is selling you paper and ink. You have to sell every copy of the book. Whether you go with a big publisher, a middle-aged publisher, or you self-publish, you can still end up with a bunch of books in your garage if you don't know what you're doing. And as it turns out for me, having 18 months to build my author platform and my brand online was the best thing that ever could have happened to me. Because by the time my book did come out, it sold out very quickly and was republished in several languages around the world. And actually the second edition of my book came out earlier this year in January. And I was very excited to be a national spokesperson for Sam's Club and go around the country and sign books and talk to people about how to start a business. And, you know, so for me, all of the time that it took was time well spent, because by the time my book came out, my book was just a part of my brand. It wasn't my whole story I was telling anymore. And because of the huge following that I had, I was able to get a lot of people to support me and do reviews. And I was able to get a lot of media. I mean, I was on the front page of the Washington Post on a Sunday in the business section with my book. And so these are things that happened because I became a known entity online. I mean, Twitter was the best thing ever happened to me. And at the time I was like, what is Twitter? You know, so I think that every kick is a boost. But the other thing I will tell people is that the blog was the key to Twitter success. You have to blog, you have to do it at least 2 to 3 times a week to be taken seriously, and you have to put out excellent content. If you do not put out excellent content, nobody's going to listen to you. But if you do, the world will be the path to your door. I had the opportunity to write for Entrepreneur for 2 years because they read my blog first and then wanted me to write for them. And then after that, the New York Times came calling and said, hey, we read your blog and we read your book. We think you might be a great voice for us. Now, obviously, as a journalism major in college, you know, it's kind of everybody's dream to work for network TV or to write for the New York Times. And who would have thought, you know, 15 years after I left the business that I would have the opportunity to write from the most important newspaper in the world, but I did. And it was because I wrote for myself best first. And that's the thing that you've got to think about. But the other thing I want to talk about too is it took 20 months of working Twitter and my blog like a job before anybody paid me to do anything. Almost 2 years. And I want to know, most people are not willing to go after something that doesn't make them any money for 2 years. Most people aren't willing to believe in themselves and their craft enough to go after something for 2 years. And that's what it took. But now, you know, we drink champagne when we thirsty now. So what I'm telling you is that you have to believe in yourself. You have to be different, and you have to be willing to stand out there and take a stand and have a point of view that's not like everybody else. And that is the reason why I was able to build such a powerful brand online.
Well, and I think, you know, obviously your brand resonates with your readership, and a lot of people have this dream. But I think the idea of first of all having full faith in your own ideas and the persistence to see them through is paramount. Without those 2 factors alone, you're not going to succeed in anything that you do from a business standpoint. I've been the part of 7 startups in my career.
Okay.
And you know, there's a certain amount of excitement, as you know. There's a certain amount of fear. And I think there's a certain amount of, maybe we'll call it mental illness, to repeatedly go into a situation where you have no idea what the outcome is going to be. You really just hope it's going to be great.
Well, you know, one of my dear friends, Barry Moltz, wrote this book called You Gotta Be a Little Crazy to Go into Business. I mean, I think there's something to that. And you made a comment earlier about whether or not you were unemployable. You are absolutely unemployable, and so am I. We are rule breakers, Jack. We're not asking people for permission to do stuff. We ask for forgiveness. I mean, you know, and we have those mentalities. And I'm very fortunate that, you know, very young, you know, 26 years old, I recognize, you know what, if I stay around here, I'm gonna be the big story on Action News. So I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna give y'all your job back so I can get out of here. You know, I can't be one of these people that come to work wanting to hurt people. You know what I mean?
Right, exactly. Do that for 30 years.
Right. So that's why I became an entrepreneur, and I have never looked back. I mean, there have been some hard days. There have been some dark nights. But let me tell you something. The first time a client says, send me the invoice, I'm ready to cut the check, my favorite sound, and my team know it, it's the sound of money coming in the door. I love it, right? So you really have to have that mentality.
Well, let's talk a little bit about, I mean, so obviously you've been in the trenches, you've made the mistakes you needed to make, you felt the pain, and I'm going to guess here, there's been more than one sleepless night in your life where you're kind of staring at the ceiling wondering how you're going to pay the bills. It's a not fun place to be, but it's part of the process. I was talking with somebody earlier today saying the challenge that I find being self-employed is always you never know when your next paycheck is going to show up. And people who have day jobs who get paid on a regular basis, I don't understand this, Melinda. Apparently they get paid to take days off.
Right.
I want a piece of that.
They get sick days, they get paid vacation. I mean, most people don't realize that most people can't take a regular salary in a business until year 3 or 4 in the business.
Certainly. And if you have employees, they get paid first.
And still years in might have to go a time or two without a paycheck. So, and you've got to be willing to do that, right? And you can't be like throwing paychecks at your staff like you hate them, right? So it's really important for us to recognize as business owners that, we're taking care of people. We're protecting people's families. We are making sure that people that work for us have what they need to take care of their family so they can take care of our businesses. And, that's really, really, really important. But I love what I do. I have the opportunity to, work for the clients I work for and get paid what I want to get paid. And so that is something that not everyone can say.
Well, let's talk a little bit about your clients. And so, as a consultant now, as a small biz lady, obviously you're bringing a lot of knowledge and your own personal experience to the table here when you sit down with them. What types of challenges are they facing that you're able to help them out with? And I know there's probably a spectrum, but I'm assuming there's kind of a combination of not only strategy and know-how, but a certain amount of hand-holding that goes into the process.
Oh yeah, well, I have 2 different client bases. So I work with Fortune 500 companies that are trying to sell things to small business owners, and I work directly with a smaller number of small business owners. So let's take the small business owners first. So when I deal with small business owners, literally they're having 1 or 2 of 5 problems, right? So either they didn't think through exactly what their life was going to be like running their business, and now they have unfortunately traded a soul-sapping job for a business that feels like a noose around their neck, right? The second reason why small businesses struggle is because people have no network to sell to. 90% of all small businesses get business from referrals. So if you are not good at networking, you don't follow up with people, you don't have a Rolodex, listen, you're going to be in trouble. It's not going to work. You've got to figure out how you can build your network before you strike out here and put out your shingle saying you're open for business. The third reason why small businesses fail is because people always try to chase new customers as opposed to nurturing their existing customers. Look, the first sale you make is the most expensive sale you'll ever make. So why would you keep trying to chase those people as opposed to nurturing people who already love you? Just love on them and get them love on you back. Repeat business is the way to create a sustainable business. But invariably, I get emails, phone calls, everything. Small business lady, how can I get more customers to my lunch counter? Look, how about you be nice to the people that came to your lunch counter last week and they'll come back? It's really that simple. The fourth reason why small businesses fail is because people have no niche target customer. They think everybody can use their product or service. Let me tell you something. If everyone can use your product or service, nobody will. So it is extremely important for you to figure out who is your niche target customer, because every small business owner has 2 things, and that's limited time and limited resources. So how about you pick a target that you can actually hit, right? And then the fifth thing, and this is the most deadly sin of all, if you don't manage your household with a budget, guess what? You're not going to manage your business with one. And successful businesses are run based on up-to-date financial information. It is just that simple. So what I want to encourage, small business owners is if your business is not going right, I guarantee you 2 of those things is going on in your business. And so any business I go into, that's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with this stuff. I mean, sometimes they need capital. Sometimes they're challenged around employees or the right employees, or trying to figure out how to hire their first employees. But 9 times out of 10, it's this other stuff I just told you about.
Well, and we do. I mean, obviously, there's a lot to be said for keeping your finances up and running, because money does make the world go round. What are some of the other challenges? I mean, obviously the knowing who you're selling to. And by the way, the answer is not everybody. Everybody is not your customer. Start with that knowledge. But let me ask you a little bit kind of about the mindset that goes into it. You talk about ending up with a noose around your neck. You started off with a dream, and now it's a lot harder than you thought it was going to be.
Right.
What do you say to small business customers who are just kind of at their wits' end, feeling like they made a mistake somewhere along the way? This is not what they had envisioned. Do you talk to them about the importance of persistence? Do you talk to them about the importance of kind of realigning their visions and kind of figuring out, tomorrow's a new day, start there?
Well, you know what? I always tell people that it's okay to take a pause and create what I call some unstructured time to think. When you feel like you're in a rut or everything's going bad or things have been going bad for too long, that's when it's time to dial it back and look at your life plan and say, okay, what did I want and why did I want it? And based upon the business that I've built, does it align with what I really wanted? Because a lot of times people, I want more time freedom. I want to, okay, well, you probably shouldn't be a caterer that ties up all your weekends doing weddings, right? If you want more time freedom for your weekends. So you've got to figure out, what you want and why you want it. And then what is it really going to take? Are you really just a creative person that really needs a business manager to manage the business because you really would rather make the cakes? You've got to figure out, do you have enough skills to run the business that you're running? Because it might be that you don't, and that's okay, but you've got to be willing to give up some of your equity stake or, to finally bring in that partner or maybe somebody you have a strategic alliance with. Could you blend your business with them? What is it going to take? Do you just need, some additional networking? Do you need to become active in your industry? Do you need to look at your trends? Are you in a business that is growing? In a business that's shrinking? You've got to look at all of that kind of stuff too to figure out, are you in the right point? Because sometimes you can have a great idea, a great business at the wrong time.
Yeah, it happens. It happens all the time. And persistence doesn't always win the day.
There's no shame in that. Listen, and I don't even believe in the word failure. So let's talk about that for a second. So I believe there are some lessons that are more expensive than others. That's what I believe. So you never fail in business. Either you win or you learn. And that's it. I mean, listen, the reason why my book, Become Your Own Boss in 12 Months, has been such a success is because I'm not the hero at the end of every story. I tell the truth about a bunch of dumb stuff I did in my business so that you all don't have to learn those lessons the hard way. And I think that there's just not enough, transparency and authenticity out here. I think all these people are out here, I've been in business for 16 years. Yeah, I'm a social media superstar, but guess what? I'm a 16-year overnight success, right? I've been working my tail off and I'm finally getting paid well for it. So, the thing about it is there's honor in all work and there's honor in all lessons. So I just think that, you do have to shake it off, but then sometimes you have to look at your business model and say, do I have a business model that is profitable? You might not. Are you charging for your own time in your business? Or are you charging for everybody else's time, all the materials and the shipping, all your direct costs, but you're not looking at your overhead and G&A, and you're not ever billing for your time? Your time is valuable too, and you need to make sure that you're accounting for your time in your business as well.
And I would add to that, I think one of the most important lessons that I've taken away from my career in self-employment is that if you wake up every morning and you look forward to what you get to do, spend the day doing, you probably made a good choice somewhere along the way. If you wake up with this dreadful feeling in the pit of your stomach and you're about to go off and sit in, what feels like a minimum security prison all day, you probably have made a really bad choice. And so being able to identify that and sometimes get the fire back in the belly. But I think it's also very important that you make sure that you ask yourself the right questions when you start a business as to why you even want to do that. And by the way, if the answer is to make lots of money, there are easier ways to make lots of money.
Oh my goodness, yes. Yeah, if you're going into business for the money, you're in trouble because this is a delayed gratification business. So, I mean, and first of all, if you're doing things just for money, people can tell. So I just don't think that it benefits you long-term to be in it for the money.
Exactly. Hey, I want to talk a little bit about an event you have coming up in Philly next month. Could you talk a little bit about what the event is and what it's about and who it's for?
Oh, yes, we're doing Reinvention Weekend. This is my third annual Reinvention Weekend. It is in Philadelphia, October 9th and 10th at the Doubletree at the airport. I'm so excited about it. I am bringing in 6 of the top small business experts from across the country to give tools and tips and information. And guess what, guys? It's only $97 to come to my event, and you can bring a friend with you. If you go to reinvention15.com, you can get all of your information. Or if you go to succeedasyourownboss.com, there's a pop-up that'll give you all the information for my conference. It's gonna be awesome. We've got great experts. We've got Suleiman Rahman, who's an expert in multi-level marketing business. I've got the restaurant lady, Misty Young, coming in to give you her 5 irrefutable laws of restaurant success. I've got Barry Moltz, who is one of my favorite small business experts. He's written all these great books, and he's run all different kind of businesses. So he's just a wealth of information. I've got Barbara Pender, who's a social media strategist, coming. Hodge Fleming, brand strategist out of Detroit. Look, I have an all-star lineup coming to Philadelphia, October 9th and 10th for Reinvention Weekend, the 3rd annual Reinvention Weekend. And I want to see you there. It's reinvention15.com, where you can get information on my conference. You can spend all day with me, and I charge a lot of money. So this is a deal, trust me.
Bargain. And it's at the airport, so you're right there.
Yeah, make it easy. It's free parking. It's a Doubletree at the airport. Come on and hang out with us. And listen, you've got to register in advance. If you show up the day of, I'm going to charge you $297. So I want you to register in advance, $97. Bring a friend. I cannot wait to see you there.
So I wanted to take a few minutes. By the way, if you have any questions for Melinda, feel free to look at the little Q&A box and type something brilliant in there, and we'll share it. I do have a question that's coming in here from Virginia Bush, who says, what exactly were the ideas in the uniqueness? And I think what she's getting to, what we were talking about a little bit earlier, was the idea that you have to have a unique selling proposition. You have to have something that allows you to stand out from the crowd. You want to reiterate and talk a little bit about the importance of that and making your own place in your own brand?
Oh, yeah. Well, I think nobody's interested in a Me Too brand. Like, if you've already seen it out there, don't duplicate something you've already seen somebody else do, because that's not going to help you move the needle. You know, the people that had created Crocs, they weren't the first people that created shoes, but they created a super uber comfortable shoe, right? So it's really about your spin on it, your unique point of view. One of the things that helped me very early on, you know, as a small business expert, look, there's thousands of small business experts, but there's only one small biz lady. So my branding was very key to my business, but also too, I answered somebody's small business question every single day on Twitter for 2 years. And now I do it every single week through Small Biz Chat, and I have for almost 7 years. So what I will tell you is that you have to be willing to do things other people won't. And that could be your uniqueness. How you say thank you could be your uniqueness. Your uniforms that your team wears could be your uniqueness. You know, whenever somebody buys an autographed copy of my book from my website, I always put a personal handwritten note in every single book. And you know, my book has been out for many, many years. So you can imagine how many handwritten notes I have written. But those things matter. People, everybody wants to feel special, and everybody likes to hear their own name, and everybody listens to the same radio station, and it's What's in it for me FM, right? So you want to make sure that whatever your uniqueness is, it's healing people's pain, that it's solving people's problems. And if you do that, the world will beat a path to your door, because the world is still waiting on a better mousetrap.
Absolutely. And the fact that you're able to not only, I mean, you're giving people hope, you're giving them an opportunity to, you know, understand that they're not in it alone. And I think it's also very helpful when you're able to share some of the, and you're right, I think anybody who's been in business for themselves over any period of time has made some of the dumbest mistakes, whether it's just spending money on the wrong things, or whether it's just handling a situation totally incorrectly, or dealing with, you know, let's face it, sometimes there are clients that are very challenging.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, these aren't things that you learn in school. These are things that you learn by doing them, and your response to them is really going to say a lot about your character, and it's going to be dependent upon your growth.
Well, I think that just to clarify Virginia's question, she wanted to know what was my uniqueness. So I will tell you that my uniqueness was my mission. My mission was to end small business failure. And that's everything I shared, everything I've written, all the interviews I give, were all focused on ending small business failure. And everybody could get it and see it and feel it when they interacted with me and when they interacted with my content. So that was my secret sauce. That was my uniqueness. Having a mission-driven business really clarifies your purpose for everyone who interacts with you.
No, absolutely. And you know, I think there's also a certain satisfaction that you take away that you're actually helping people and you're making their lives better. And you know, let's face it, it's kind of fun to be able to make a difference in other people's lives that's that positive.
I love being people's fairy godmother in business, right? I mean, it's my favorite thing. I love doing small business makeovers. I love doing giveaways. I mean, earlier tonight, I gave away 3 Visa gift cards because I could, right? You know, Visa was our sponsor of Small Biz Chat tonight. And, you know, I love giving people information or tools, products, things that are going to help them grow their business. And there's plenty of brands that we say kick rocks to because I don't believe in them. I don't believe in their brand. I don't think what they sell is good for small businesses, and I don't want to have nothing to do with them. So, I mean, I'm very particular about the brands that I partner with.
Absolutely. Well, Melinda, this has been an absolute delight. Thank you so much for your time tonight. I know it's a long day for all of us, especially this time of the night. But you know, your fresh perspective, your energy, a little contagious. It's a good thing to have. Let me just pop up my next slide here so I can share that with everyone. Give me a second as I rearrange my windows here. Let me go and share my screen yet again. And so just to let everyone know, there we go. If you want to contact Melinda, you can do so at Small Biz Lady through Twitter or through the tweeter. And is there another way that they can touch base with you, Melinda, that will work?
Absolutely. You can connect with me on Twitter, but you can also connect with my website, succeedasYourOwnBoss.com, or please connect with me at Melinda Emerson on LinkedIn.
There you go. So an opportunity to make some good connections. Anyway, thank you so much. And by the way, if you want to get in touch with myself or with Hollis, you can reach us through the Twitter at Reinvention Work. By the way, it's not pluralized because we ran out of characters. That's the problem when you have a really long business name. One of those things you learn along the way. I'd also just want to remind you that next week it's going to be our monthly tweet chat, which Hollis is going to take care of that. She's going to be back. And as always, that's on Wednesdays at 8:30 p.m. And by the way, tell your friends you're doing this. Get people involved. That's what makes this all work. All right, let me just stop our share here and all that. And anyway, Melinda, thank you so much. I appreciate your time tonight and your insight. Best of luck with the show next month, and hopefully we can get some more people to show up and be inspired by what you have to offer them.
Awesome. Well, I can't wait to meet Hollis in person, and hopefully I get a chance to see you as well. And thank you so much to your loyal fans. And, you know, this has been really fun tonight. I'm glad we did it.
Me too. All right. Well, thanks so much. Take care, and we will catch up with you very soon.
Okay.
Good night.